Like, I want to start from the beginning. Like, how'd you guys end up in Texas from Nigeria? Like, I want to hear like the whole story from like how like like your African heritage and culture like kind of like stuck with you and like kind of brought you up as as creatives. If that makes sense. Like, how's the beginning of this journey started?
Um, so we were born in Nigeria, Lagos. Before we were born, our mom wanted to have us in the UK. She moved to the UK overseas, but they rejected her. So they said that she would have us over back. She had us. She came back. They told her no. So yeah, she came back home. And one of our uncles, as a joke, was like, "Oh, you should apply for the visa lottery to America," and so they did, and then we actually won. Um, so we moved out here, like we moved to California actually first because the ticket on like the visa lottery things established in California, so we thought that we had to only be in California. So we moved out here, and we realized it was crazy expensive. I think we were like 16 months old, like really young. And then after we realized it was expensive, we talked to some people. They're like, "Oh, you can go anywhere in the U.S." And we're like, "Oh, okay." So, as most Nigerians do, they look for Texas, and uh, like there's, I think the heat is the same, the weather is the same. So like it's just like oh, that's perfect. And then the prices are really cheap. So um, we we went to Texas and we, we grew up there for most of like yeah.
Um, yeah, grew up there, grew
Nice.
up suburban household, and um, definitely not that many Nigerians.
Yeah,
Like in Houston, yes, but we were in like a suburban area, so it was just less. Um, but it was fun. We enjoyed Texas. We really do think that it like shaped us into the people we are now, for sure. And like, whenever we hit the age to go to college, we actually went to a college in Iowa first that was offering us like full to almost full tuition covered and everything like that. And we hated it. We didn't want to go there,
yeah,
but our parents wanted us to save money, and so we went there for a semester. Hated it. Dropped out, but we transferred back to Houston. Came back to Houston, University of Houston for 3 semesters. COVID hit on the second semester, so but then we're back home anyways, and then think through that, we just started posting music, posting covers, posting things on social media, and slowly started to build out our whole team with that to produce original music.
we were taking flights like every other month to come and make original music in California, and then we just made the decision after like 2 more semesters at University of Houston to just transfer to a school out here and just be more full time in LA.
Yeah.
How did the music start? Like, how did you guys like? What was the the spark? Like the kind of like the the deciding moments when you guys decided to make music, and why did you decide to do it like with each other? Rather than do like your own things and like start two different bands. Like, what was the beginning of like like the moment where you like we should make music together? Like what was that moment like?
I
Yeah,
think the sorry, I think the main thing that really drew us together was like we did everything together. So it was like kind of hard. Like every time you saw me, you see him, like and vice versa. Um, and for music, it was actually him that like started posting on SoundCloud and doing stuff. And then I saw it. I was more like I would say he's more of like how would you say it like a very optimistic and can never see any like not in a bad way, but like I'm very practical and like very realistic. For me, I was like I wanted to study computer science, go into tech, all these things, and like I knew I wanted to do something creative, but I didn't know like for sure it's gonna be music 100%.
yeah,
So we had all these ventures during high school, like creating clothing brands, creating fashion, doing so many things like
YouTube,
photos, YouTube, video, all these things. So when it came down to like music, it felt like another extension of ourselves that we're just gonna do together in general because we've done so many other things. So it was a natural progression. I saw him posting on SoundCloud, and I was like, oh wait, okay. Then, but we've been singing in the church all of our life, so music wasn't like new to us. So it felt like a natural thing. I'm like, oh yeah, let me try to record something too.
Yeah, we grew up singing in the church. That's kind of just where we learned how to sing and where we got our vocal chops, our and
Our training,
yeah, all of our training is kind of like STEM. Even in like our music, we like use of harmonies and everything is just from that background of the soulful music of choirs and things like that. And I think that really like um, helped us just like even growing up and like figuring out our voice and figuring out our sound. I think that's just like the influences that we had is just what like kind of curated us throughout the years to be like, okay, like I wanted to do. I think, yeah, in high school I like put out like I think one song solo on SoundCloud or whatever, and from then on we're like, oh, like let's do this together. Let's keep it going. And I think,
How? Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, the music was it was like up in the air. I don't know. We were just trying to like just see what would work and like
Yeah. And how did it evolve into like what you're doing now? You know, we'll get to the debut album and all that and all that stuff, but like brand new, you know, the single. Um, Obviously, you know, like you've evolved and like you've gotten to the point where you're signed and all that stuff, and all, you know, like there must have been like some kind of evolution, obviously, like internally and you know, creatively and all that. Um, how would you describe your creativity, your music, you know, now or yourselves? Like, you know, when I hear like brand new, you know what I mean? Like when you play it to somebody, what would you like to for people to hear to like feel? You know what I mean? Like how would you describe it to a stranger?
yeah, brand new was kind of uh created just off the like we had two EPs that we put out, and those two EPs were kind of the set foundation where we like to show our vocal chops, to show our songwriting, to show our lyricism, everything that we could do. And I feel like Brand New was it was the first song that we stepped out of this like our lane that we were in, which was kind of just like a more cookie cutter pop. And we had to kind of just a meeting. We had a talk. We said, hey, like we want to go further with our things, with our music, with our vision. We want to talk about deeper subjects, and
Yeah.
in Brand New we bring up like subjects like racism. We bring up subjects of moving from Nigeria all the way here, and just things that were much more tailored to our life that we felt like needed to be expressed in this album. If they weren't, like we couldn't call it a debut album because it needed to just be more about us. And that was like the struggle. Like throughout the whole like first two EPs, we were able to write about love and different subjects like that. But I felt like the real way we were going to cut through was to bring forth more of our story and like bring that to the light, because I think it's an important story and should be told. So
Yeah, I think the main difference between our old projects and the new stuff now is a definite feeling of an elevation rather than just like seeing a visual or anything like that. I think across the board, our goal was to for one the fans to see like there's an obvious elevation, but even just newcomers to see like, oh wow, this is like, even if I just found them on Brand New, if I go to their old stuff, there's like something there that was building, and there's things that I can point to that can show me that they were going down a path like this or like their debut album. And for sure, there was definitely like, I think with Brand New, there was definitely a feeling of like, oh wow, I need people to actually know that this is the new KAIRO. This is like hence the name. Like we want people to know that this is the new like the new gen facing of music. We want people to know that like yes, you've probably never seen something like this in this generation, and we want to spearhead that. We don't want to just like come in the industry and sing music just for fun or whatever.
yeah,
So
that was like the video and song to like set the tone for the whole era. That was just like we need to make our mark, and the first thing that pops out needs to like show people we're serious and
Tell me about the visuals then. Like you since you brought it up, like you have um what is the inspiration there? Like, you know, with African heritage and all that type of thing. We actually do cover a lot of Afro artists, and a lot of them are based in England. You know, like you guys try to be. the influences are like all over the place. Like there's a lot of like contamination from like different um, cultures, different all kinds of different things. What's it like for you guys? Like the influences from a specifically from a visual standpoint, because like the experimentation there is like it's very cool, and you guys like you said you're developing, and like now this is like the new KAIRO, like you said. Like how are you approaching your visuals, your aesthetics, your the visual side of it?
the the visual side, I would say, is like a very, at least for me, it's a very important thing. I remember we debated the artwork so many times because it was either going to be our baby photo or it was going to be the photo that it is right now. And like for me, creatively, I love the idea of building worlds. We both love that. Like it's one of those things where it's like it's an unsung hero for an artist, especially entering an era that you see like the Charlie XCX, see all these artists that choose a specific color, a specific logo, everything like that. So for me, like I've made like all the logos for us and like tried to like keep it cohesive. And when it was coming down to like choosing the cover art, in my head, I felt like there was something, like I took references obviously, but I was trying to find something that would elevate us that we've never done before, but also like someone could see and actually stand out, like scrolling down a playlist or scrolling down Instagram, something that's eye catching that makes you want to pay attention. And that was our biggest thing. Like even the idea of red for this era is like a perfect choice because we know that every time you see us, we will be in something red because knowing that all our other eras were like less cohesive, but they still make sense for the music. But now, like every time KAIRO was mentioned, you know that there's star involved. There's red and white. There's something about that makes you stay with them and draw into them. And I think I love the idea of like even like our alternative cover arts. We have like multiple cover arts for each single or each song, and that's on purpose to like just like for a brand new artist to build a world like that. It's like we don't want to like just do the bare minimum. We don't want to just like, oh yeah, like go listen to my song and it's just the same piece of content, same piece of media every single time. We want there to feel like there's something fresh every time KAIRO's name is attached to it.
Yeah. And even talking about like the visuals for like the music video, like I feel like well, I studied film. I dropped out, but I was studying film. And then we did like YouTube in high school, and we used to make just like short films,
Yeah,
basically. So for us, we've always been visually like just sponges. We would soak up, like look at different influences, look at Paris creative director and see what they've done. And so we look at like people in South Africa, what they're doing, and just different places to see like get inspiration and get different like viewpoints and perspectives. And even for our video and brand new, like we went to Paris to go and do that. That was off the backs of our Paris team out there, and we just like I felt like that whole video was like a like very monumental mark for us because we were like, oh, like yeah, like we've always wanted to see like, oh, what would a video with like like people have not seen two twins like this. Okay, cool. What could even level that up? Okay, yeah. Let's add two more twins and let's do like these like crazy like mixed media effects and like just bringing something that's like new to the platform to the like to people so that like okay like regardless of the song, regardless of whatever, like people see us when they see us like these are two stars. Like this is like they were intentional with every single thing that they did. And I feel like we did that to a T.
I think even for like the the people that will go back in years to come and like see the old stuff, it's like a perfect. We call it our resume slash landing page where anybody comes to our Instagram or anything, they see, oh wow, like everything is intact, everything is on purpose. And maybe that's more serious than what other artists like to do, but like for us, it does mean something because like we know that in years to come when we are doing much bigger things, like it will all pay off. Like it won't be out of vain.
When you show care, when you show that much care in the little things, like the fans, like they notice.
Yeah,
like,
they appreciate
they
it.
know whenever like you're being intense, and like they've seen like our stuff before was kind of just mixed jumble, whatever. Yeah. But like this is like every single thing is planned. There's no like box that's not been crossed out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that I like that, and that's how fans actually relate, and like that's how people like spread the word about a new artist. You know what I mean? Because like maybe it's not, like maybe somebody like really like visually oriented, like and they'll check the video and they're like they'll send somebody the video rather than the song. You know what I mean? Because they like the video specifically, or like you know what I'm saying? Like I like that, and like as a magazine, we're like that too. We love like the whole creativity is only like one thing. You know what I mean? Like and there's different sides to it. It's like a it's like a sphere, which I love. I love that you guys align to that. Tell me a couple more things. In terms of like music and sounds and all that, like with coming from Africa and like Nigeria and all that type of stuff. Nigeria is a very like cultural place. There's a lot of cinema in Nigeria. Actually, there's a lot of great stuff coming from there. Um, what are the inspirations like for each one of you guys, like musically? Like, were you guys like, did you grow up listening to the same music? Did one of you guys bring some kind of influences and the other one brought some other influences? Like, how did you like grow up musically, like as listeners before becoming players?
A lot of our influences were like it was African. It was a lot of like what our parents would play on Sunday morning, like going to church, things like that, like Joe Legba,
Yeah.
like so many artists that like we loved, but we never knew like, oh, like this is like our home, like this is what our family used to listen to back then and their hits and everything like that. So it was a lot.
It was a very big mixture of that, and then it would be like we get home and then we're seeing like Disney Channel or Justin Bieber and stuff. And so it
Yeah.
was like a kind of dichotomy. We were like, oh, like I don't even know like what to listen to or what like it was just we were listening to everything to be honest. And but everything was under that scope of like the culture of Nigeria is like that's where we're from and that's where like yeah. But like that kind of just like coursed through everything like that we went through. And like I don't even think like even for like rap music, I don't think we even listened to rap music until like later into like our high school, middle school, high school, like years. And but for the most part, I think coming from Nigeria, we all had like the influences of like the church. We had definitely like a lot of Nigerian church music and Nigerian church songs influenced us. And I feel like that's even like just helped us like vocally too, because a lot of them are hard to sing.
Yeah.
But but yeah,
And a lot of them we didn't know what they were saying.
Yeah.
So it was a lot
So
of
it
just
was
like
like
memory or melody memorization and like understanding like how to fit a pocket that you didn't expect to fit on. And I think a lot of even too like for our last two EPs, they were a lot of that, I would say, like current singer songwriter type of music, and which we love, and that's why we made it our base so that we can always come back to that. But we knew that like with this album, like the flair that we need and that we want to show like new audiences and new groups of people, like it needs to be there, whether it's like a vocal that comes from the left that you never expected and it's super high, or it's like just ear candy all around, helping
modulation.
yeah, helping the entirety of the song like not feel dull and feel like, oh my god, every single song can be. But yeah.
I love that. Um, Let me close with this. Are you guys the kind of people, artists, and creatives that start with, like you have the record now. Are you already like writing the new things? Are you already like kind of like looking ahead and like trying to like, do more things? Because like this record, like, it's your debut. So like are you like already like thinking of like chapter two and like what are you how do you like I guess the question would be how should we expect you guys to keep going and like what's gonna happen to your act? You know what I mean? Like are you already like taking a certain direction? Like are you trying to like go somewhere specifically or like how do you approach that type of thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. We finished this album in March, and since then we've just been experimenting with different sounds. We just finished the deluxe a week ago, I'd say. But I think for the next, we are looking like obviously towards the next project or what is it going to sound like, what does it look like, and I think for the next project, it's still up in the air, and I love that to be honest. Like we are able to like do different ideas during like our sessions now, and just be like, okay, if that one feels right, then like let's keep going into that. Let's like look into that sound and see what we can do with that. But I for like the main point I think is just that this album is what helped us to be able to spread and like look at the different genres and tap into this or tap into this more alt leaning, this more alt leaning hooks or alt leaning like perspective, and even the structure of our songs, like, oh, it's not, it doesn't have to be this AV chorus or this like AV like whatever like singer songwriter that we've normally done. Like, okay, now we can mess up the vocals in this type of, in a good way, in this type of way. And I feel like that is really the freedom of uh this album and what we were able to do, incorporate. We've got the poppy hooks, but then we've got like the more introspective lyrics and deeper meanings of like our lyrics. And I just feel like it's the perfect recipe for us to just land in this alt scene and
Yeah.
take over.
I think the main, at least for me, for sure, I think continuing to keep your pen down, like keep writing, keep making new stuff. Like I've started to like produce some new beats and demos just to like see what the new sound could be. I've also like made boards and like made stuff that like could creatively like, oh, what could look different next era? What could elevate this whole entire thing? Like we're going super colorful right now. What if it's like black and white next time? Like little things like that, and like taking references for videos, all these things, and I'll have it on file and saving, just making sure that like when months down the line come or a year down the line comes and it's time for the second rollout of a project or anything like that, we're ready and like we know that these references are made with like we're just all the references we take are like planned ahead of time, and it's not like, oh, right when we have the project, that's whenever we start thinking creatively and stuff like that. So for me, for sure, I've already like clocked so many artworks and things like that, so many ideas that could like possibly be it. I do think there will which is the thing that we wanted. We did say like this album is going to be hard to beat in the best way.
Yeah.
And like we know about some artists that they always talk about like having a sophomore slump and things like that. And we're for sure
We're not releasing until
we're not releasing until the next album beats this album. But I think even right now, like we are like primarily focused on this rollout, like everything from social media, from the shows, from just like connecting with people and like them experiencing music in different ways. It's truly a time to like, yes, here's KAIRO, here's who we are, here's the first full project, full length project of us. Now that you have this, sit and wait for anything else.